Hello and welcome to the Hardy Brain, the show that takes athletic, introverted entrepreneurs and leaders and transforms them into ironclad brain performers. I'm your host, Dr. David Hardy. And today on our show, we've got another amazing guest. She is a keynote speaker, a mental health advocate, and the founder of the Brave Initiative. Welcome to the show, Carol Schulte. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thanks,
Schulte.
David. Thank you. Dr. David, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Now, you've led a very interesting life here. You've traveled, lived in a dozen different countries or so?
This is true. Yes, I did a lot of
Wow.
escaping when I was younger.
What on earth were you escaping from, or were you just exploring?
Okay, so I lost my mom 21 years ago, and that had a
Oh,
profound impact
wow.
on my life. And so I spent kind of a lot of time soul searching, and then got distracted by, men and other opportunities. But no, I stayed in Thailand for about 9 months. I was volunteering at an orphanage for HIV positive babies and children, and then I was in India
Wow.
for a few months. I lived in Ashram for a bit. Met a man, moved into his van, and went apple picking in New Zealand for a year. I traveled through Australia for a long time. I've had addresses in Wales. And then I embarked on this thing called Remote Year, where I lived and worked in a new country every month for the course of a year. So kind of counts, but I did have an
Yeah.
address in all of those places. And then I went to school in the States for 2 years. So yeah, lived a lot of different places.
Wow. And where are you now? Where have you settled?
I mean, I never know if I'm going to actually ever settle. But for now, where I have been for a few years is Toronto.
Nice. Yeah. All right. So the reason I bring up travel is, yeah, I'm a traveler myself, and I I think it's got more life lessons and just experiences that build a person more so than any book or leadership program out there. Um, and if you can entwine both, yeah, it's way better. But it really does build a person, doesn't it? Like, what were some of the highlights out of all of this that it's like, okay, well, yeah, I take this into my everyday life right now and into my leadership.
Well, first of all, I wholeheartedly agree with you, and I would love to hear some of your travel stories and what is the next place maybe on your bucket list. But I think for me, recognizing it at the end of the day, we're all connected. We all want similar things. Yes, we have different backgrounds and different experiences, but we all want to feel seen. We all want to feel heard. We all want to matter. I conversationally speak 5 languages because I realized
Wow.
early on that communication is a really important part of building relationships. And if you want people to feel like you care about them and you want to get to know about them and learn about their culture, language has a big part of that. So communication has always been something important to me. That's what I ended up doing my master's in. So I think I learned that, and that also that you really have to meet people where they are at. And I think it's very easy to come from the perspective of someone living in the Western world. I grew up very fortunate, very privileged, and assuming things or that people, the same things matter to other people. Um, Not necessarily the case. Like I really do think that you have to meet people where they're at, regardless of where you are, whether or not you're traveling or even here in boardrooms or conference spaces or even just on a phone conversation. We never really know what's happening behind the scenes with that person. So I think it really is about being curious, wanting to get to know their story, asking them what makes them tick, asking those kind of braver questions, I like to call them, to really find out what's going on. Because that's sort of where, not sort of, that's where real connection is built.
So let's say you're like picking apples, or you're like in a Buddhist temple, or in a peak in the Indian mountains looking for the Shama. What is one of these stories of like somebody you ran into that you were just like blown away by and still remember that, whoa, that was something like unexpected or just neat,
Oh,
fascinating,
I mean,
different.
that is a very good question. I've met so many fascinating people on
Oh,
there.
right.
I met someone who had been living on their motorcycle, traveling like from here, there, and everywhere for over a year, and didn't know where they were going to be the next night. They were just kind of going with it, and they had some fun stories. But I think just totally trusting that the universe would provide, that they would know and find out where to be and what to do, and be able to work somewhere when they wanted to or when they needed to work and make some money, and then just keep going on their way. Yeah, that individual was quite interesting, fascinating. Um,
So were you there on the back of the motorcycle for a little bit?
I did hitchhike for a little bit. I sure did. Yes, I did. I had dreadlocks at the time when I was living in Thailand. I got some dreadlocks, so dreads were like blowing behind me. Yeah, it was a wild time, Dr. David. A wild time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I constantly saw people like that. Byron Bay yeah, brought memories there. And, like, the reason I bring this up is, like, this is on, like, people's bucket lists. It's like, "Oh, I wanna go to this place," or, "I wanna travel this. I wanna ride on a motorbike." Oh, geez, I've never hitchhiked before. I've never tried that food. What's it like over there? And, like, this whole bucket list thing of, "Oh, I wanna accomplish something. I want to." But most people never do. And yet they're in this like corporate life or work life. And well, if we translated this, like we mentioned communication, we mentioned developing relationships. Like, how does this kind of bucket list mentality kind of go with, okay, well, maybe you're not going to do all this stuff, but in your work life, in your life that you're living right now, how do people kind of transition this? And I think you've got a name for it, like Brave List or something.
Yes. Okay. Well, let me first talk about bucket lists. So I love bucket lists. I used to actually run this event called Bubbles and Bucket Lists, where you'd come get
Yeah.
a glass of bubbly in a real bucket, and we would go through questions, exercises to help you, get clear on what you really wanted to experience or achieve or see in your life. And I think bucket lists give people something to look forward to in the sense of hope. And to your point, not everybody checks everything off their list, but it does give them something to be excited about, to look forward to. But also, without sounding morbid, it kind of gives you this illusion of time, and it's everything you want to do before you die, right? And so you're
Right.
already thinking about the end of your life. And so I realized that it doesn't kind of give you that urgency, and it's this one day thing that seems so far away that people aren't necessarily actioning on today. And so I created something called the Brave List. So while a bucket list is everything you want to do before you die, a brave list is everything you want to do to help you feel alive. And it's things that you can put into
Uh,
action and do right here, right now. Things that would make you feel more powerful, more brave, more in control of your life. So the first ever bucket list I wrote for myself 7 years ago, and I do this at least annually, if not more often than that, was things like, shouldn't be admitting this, but get caught up on my taxes. I wanted to create an online profile. I wanted to, there were quite a few things that I had on that brave list. And what happens is that when you actually name your brave and you put it down, your mind, this, is already starting to figure out how to make that happen, because our brains are wired so that it can come up with solutions. And so even if you don't plan everything on the calendar or list all of the steps, chances are you're starting to put the wheels in motion for some of those things that are on the list. And what I found was by the end of the year, 90% of the things that I'd written down, I'd actually achieved or accomplished or checked off. So it's just a way of really getting honest with yourself and clear about what matters right here, right now, and that we can already start putting some of those things into action even before we feel ready.
wow. Now, this is like juxtaposition for me. Like, I'm thinking, okay, well, free flowing life, things happen, back of a motorcycle. And then I'm like, lists? Yuck, taxes. So, what are some
True.
of these behaviors that get these everyday mundane things to kind of be exciting? Then, like to give us that juice, that feeling of being alive.
So a really great question, and it's funny because part of the reason why I kept going away is because I would come home, wasn't really ready to face a life without my mom, but also just the reality of life, and so it was easy to escape. But I think when we do the things that we have to do that may be quote unquote mundane, then we take back our power. We feel like we're in control of things, and it also creates space for the things that are really important or that really matter to us. So I am sure you and I are not alone in that we probably have more than one tab open on our computer at one time, at any given time. And we have a lot of like open loops in our life, all the things that we have to do, like taxes, like answering all the emails, like doing all the things. And whenever we have open loops in our brain, it actually prevents us from really doing the work that we are here to do, that's going to fuel us, that's going to fire us up, that's going to make us feel like we're doing things on purpose. And so while some of those items may be mundane, they're actually providing freedom for us to do the stuff that we really want to do, the juicier things that's really in alignment with who we are, what our values are, and what we want to put out in this world. And so it's about closing those loops, getting the things done that are kind of holding us back, taking up space. Emotional real estate, as one of my friends would call it, and
Hmm.
and then being able to create space for bigger, more meaningful things.
Okay, let's hear about it. So, I know you've done this. So, you've closed the loops, you've done the mundane things. All right, what did that open you up to? What's one of these everyday stories now of like, okay, well, check this off, and I didn't go to bed. I found something else that was bigger. What was that? And like, how did this unfold?
Well, it's so funny because I'm now trying to get back to the foundations and making the small choices that are not as following the the quote unquote the squirrel or the next shiny object syndrome. Because I can say I think, and I don't know, I might be afraid to confess this, but I am um, by like through and through. Well, I'm a night owl, okay, and the challenge is that I've heard for years and years and years the early bird gets the worm, 5 a.m. club, best work happens fresh in the morning. And so I
Yeah,
try and do
yuck.
both.
No way.
Pardon?
No way.
No,
Yuck. Yeah,
yeah.
5 a.m. No.
Well, but the thing is, it actually is proven that if we can change our circadian rhythms to such that we are waking up earlier and going to bed
Yeah.
earlier. One of the things I recently found out is that we get our best sleep, our best recovery in between 10 p.m. and midnight. Well, 10 p.m. and 2 p.m., but 2 a.m., but 10 to 12 are really, really important for a restorative sleep, to all of the, cleaning up all that, the brain dump, if you will, of things happening. And that is not often time I am in bed sleeping. And so I am trying to do small, boring things so that I can be freer to do the things that I really want to do, and be the person that I'm stepping into becoming. So for me, it is really hard to not want to get that last thing done or check out something or research more or be on my phone late at night. I'm trying to be boring and be in bed by 10:30, 11. And so when I do that and I get up earlier and I get my walk in and my meditation and my exercise and my journaling and all the things I'm committing to, it just again feels like I'm putting myself first and then freeing up time to really do the things that matter to me, that I deem as important for the day.
Absolutely. Now, too, people have different chapters, and yeah, it sounds like yeah, the challenge or the freedom or just experiencing and getting life was a previous chapter, and now it's accomplishing. It's doing these things and feeling good from yeah, just getting life done and meeting it. Um, in between though those chapters, it's a yucky kind of unpleasant moment. Can you kind of speak to that? like, okay, yeah, we do have these different chapters. We do find later in life fun from things we never thought we would. And yeah, but in between that, we lose lose kind of our
Yeah,
bearings, right?
totally. And I think we're always going in and out of different seasons, and
Yes.
it is hard to know where we're at and to trust we are where we need to be and to fully surrender to the season that we're in, and accept that, as opposed to trying to fight it and wish we were back out apple picking, right? And I think it really comes down to a choice, which is not always easy, but I think at some point we have to own that this is where we are and what we need to go through right here, right now, and that what we're doing today is helping our future self. One of the things I ask myself regularly is, would my future self thank me for this right now? And sometimes that is doing the things that we don't want to do, the hard stuff. But I think if you are committed to continued growth and evolving, and again, being this bigger, bolder, braver version of yourself, then you got to stick to the things that aren't necessarily always fun. And is there, adventure always calling me? Absolutely. And I think too, I don't necessarily believe in work-life balance. I think that's an illusion that we all try and attain and then simply fail at. But I do believe in work-life flow. And I think it's about
Hmm.
always staying true to your values, which will present and demonstrate in different ways. So if you are somebody who loves adventure and you can't remember the last time you got on a plane or did something fun, how can you bring some adventure into your life now, even if you have other responsibilities? And, if you're somebody that really loves connection, when was the last time that you put all of your devices down and committed to spending time with someone and being fully present in that moment, and creating something meaningful together? So I think it's about identifying your values and making sure, regardless of what season you're in, that you still honor them. You still find ways to make sure that you are putting some time and attention there, because they matter. It's important. And I think, when we feel totally icky or totally out of alignment or just something's off, chances are it's because one or more of our values aren't being honored. So we may have to get real, get honest with ourselves, and look at even small things that we can maybe shift or change or
I
recommit
love it.
to.
Right. Now it seems like in that there was this combination of comfort of, yeah, it is comfortable to do the same things over and over again, and to get into a routine, and if that routine gets mixed up, oh no, like it's a tragedy. And at the same time there's still this adventure side. You're still thinking about the future, you're still thinking about things that are going to bring you joy and satisfaction, meeting new people, connecting, and you're also speaking. And that's got to be something from being kind of a flow with the things to, okay, no, I'm gonna get up in front of people and I'm gonna walk them through how something of value to them. Kind of explain this part of the chapter you're in and the adventure and where you want to take things with it.
I actually think so. So thank you. I think that being able to speak and work with people kind of allows me to still have that freedom and to kind of be all over the place. And, you
Yeah.
know, I resist schedules and routine, like the play, and I know it's what's going to also set me free. And so it is a constant work in progress for me to stick to the things that I have, to honor those routines, which is why I always have, an anchor in the morning, and I'm working on anchors in the evening too, to get myself into bed earlier, so that wherever I am, wherever I'm traveling, I can still always find that grounding before I start and have some of that routine. But speaking allows me to step into my most authentic self, to be
Yes.
real, to
Yeah.
connect with people in the audience. I mean, I don't know about you, but I love being anywhere where people are on a stage. So whether or not that's at conferences with keynoters, or if that's theater or live comedy or live music, there's just this energy that takes place. And whether or not
Right.
I'm in the audience or I'm on the stage, there's this palpable, like, I don't know, it's like you can do anything. And there's this shared experience, which is so powerful. And so I love that I get to do that. I love that I get to co create an experience with any audience that I'm with and be able to be on a journey together and hopefully impart some stories, some real authenticity, some vulnerability in terms of what I've gone through, but also some words of wisdom and tools that have helped me on my journey, and give them some ideas to really action on and take away. I do love going to rah rah you can do it events, but I also want to make sure
Yes.
that there are some practical takeaways, like what can I do tomorrow? What does that actually look like? So that
Yes.
we start to see progress, we start to see change. And I think, at the end of the day, the things like motivation is fleeting. But if you start to see real progress, you're going to build momentum, which is far more powerful than motivation. And it's about starting small. It's about starting where you are. It's about not waiting to feel ready, but to just identify that first tiniest of brave steps, because then from there you build the brave muscle, the momentum comes, and before you know it, you're closer and closer to that big goal that you're going after.
Yeah. Now, the word brave, I
Mhm.
think it resonates with certain people here, and let me just kind of guess and go through this. Okay, so comfort and
Please.
breaking that comfort. Geez, yeah, people feel like that takes a bit of bravery. Like it's scary getting something new. Like the brain just hangs on to what it's used to doing, and I find that word brave, it resonates a lot more with women. Does it or no?
Well, I do think many people, in fact, everybody that I've ever spoken to, have areas in their life where they maybe want to be braver. But I will say, in
Mhm.
the work that I do with women, it seems far more prevalent that women are playing smaller than they know they can, that they wish
Really?
they could be a
Yeah.
little bit braver, that they are holding themselves back. They are, waiting for the invitation before they share their idea or raise their hand or try that thing. And, I've done a lot of
Where where
research.
where
Sorry?
do you think that comes from? Like
Uh,
why are women maybe more fearful of things or less likely to step up then?
Well, first of all, our brains are wired differently. You
Oh,
probably know
yeah,
this.
absolutely.
Um, and women are wired more for connection and likability, and men are
Yes.
wired more for respect and success. And so, because we want to be liked, because we want to connect and form good relationships, we don't often put ourselves out there for fear of ruffling feathers or what people will think. And
Mm.
we often say yes when maybe we want to say no, or do things out of obligation because we want to be nice, we want to be liked, we have a fear of being rejected. And so as a result, we're often putting people before us. Also, women, there's a lot of women who are mothers who tend to put their children before themselves, or in a lot of different areas of their life they put themselves further down the rung. And not that it's not good to take care of people and and want to be there for others, but I also think that we need to check in with ourselves on a regular basis and say, okay, am I being true to who I am I honoring what I really want and what I'm here to do? And I think it requires a whole lot of bravery to honor boundaries, to say no, to step into our truth, because we might be letting people down. We might potentially disappoint some people. And again, that's hard for our brains. And yeah, I think we have a hard time being visible and owning what makes us great because we don't want to seem too show offy, um, and I don't think that's doing us or anyone else a disservice. I think that people who are
Right?
not afraid to be themselves, who are not looking for approval or looking to be perfect or looking, for attention from everybody, when they're just comfortable in their own skin, those are the people that we're attracted to, that we really radiate towards.
Yes, yeah. So, you got a client story? Someone who's gone from that kind of fear, found some bravery and greatness.
So a few. One particular points out. So there was a high potential leader working
Hmm.
at a big organization, and she had been in said role for 5 years and had never asked for a raise or a promotion. Didn't want to get rejected. Was afraid she might be asking too much. And so I used to have a program called 10 Days to Brave, and
Okay.
every day there was something small that you would take on, and by the end she asked for a raise, and she did she end up getting it? I can't remember what the end of the story. So she got a promotion with like a different title, and a raise was or a bonus was promised at the end of the year, and then they had to take it, for further approvals. But the win was that she asked. The win that she was like, oh my gosh, I was brave enough to just even ask the question. So even if you don't know what's going to happen at the end, the fact that you are willing to raise your hand, speak your truth, ask for what it is that you want, which is always hard, that's always the huge win.
Nice. And what are some of these other 10-day adventures in bravery that you spark in people?
People have decided to book the trip that they've always
Hmm.
wanted to take, but have been afraid to. People have ended relationships. People have asked people out. People have declared that they want to write a book and started taking a course on how to write it. I've had people sign up for 5K running races, try. Someone did a triathlon. We
Nice.
did stand up comedy, which was really cool. And the whole group of us went to go watch her perform and cheer her on, sing live. We had somebody go to an open mic night. So, yeah, things that you've thought about, dreamed about, maybe been scheming about, thinking about, but haven't actually done anything about. That's what I'm all about, helping women do the thing that they've wanted to do, been thinking about for far too long, but aren't actually making happen.
What are you scheming about?
Ooh.
I can see
Um,
the wheels turning. I know you're a schemer.
I am a bit of a schemer. I am a bit of a schemer. So I have a big event coming up, an experiential event. However, I am launching this challenge idea that I've had for a long time. I don't know if you've ever heard of 75 Hard, and I love me a good challenge, don't get me wrong. But a
Okay.
lot of challenges out there are kind of like a push harder, you can do it, prove yourself, so that you look good, check off all the things. And I think women need it differently. I think that, and research has showed, we need shared accountability. We need safe spaces to be ourselves. We need cheerleading in a different way, not always like a push harder. So I'm launching 50 Days to Brave. So how it works is you choose one brave habit to be your anchor, one brave boundary that protects your energy, and then one small step of action that you take every day for 50 days towards what your big, brave goal is, so that the thing that you've been thinking about, dreaming about, scheming about, but haven't actually done yet, the wheels are in motion. And so it's with 50 women for 50 days, one brave goal. You're not, it's not 10, it's not a whole life overhaul. It's just making one brave choice to say yes to you. And then at the end of the 50 days, that thing that you've been ideating on, does that make sense? That idea that you've been playing with is it's no longer an idea. It's either scheduled, it's shared, it's started, or it's done. And so I'm really excited about that, because I think when we have a cohort, when we're doing it together, cheering each other on, having that accountability and real momentum makes a big difference. So that's what I'm scheming about.
I love it. And I think 50 lives are about to be changed with that. And
That's the hope. That's the hope.
yeah, absolutely. And
And
you're
the
so
ripple
right.
effect, not just those 50
Yes.
lives, but like if we were brave enough to put the version of ourselves out into the world and do what we really are called to do, can you imagine what the world would look like? I mean, pretty amazing, right?
Yeah,
Because every time you step into your light, you give permission to other people to do the same. And when we're not trying to like look good or prove or please, and we're just sitting true to who we are and allowing all of that to come out, you can't help but impact the people around you, right?
I love it. I love the enthusiasm behind it. And yeah, the example, it's more than 50 lives here. Now, how do people find you then?
You can come to my website, carolschulte.com or thebraveinitiative.com. And all the information is there, or you can follow me on Instagram or LinkedIn.
Ah, I love it. All right. Well, definitely check out Carol. And, well, of course, stay tuned to the next episode of The Hardy Brain, the show that takes athletic, introverted entrepreneurs and leaders and transforms them into ironclad brain performers. Take care.
Thank you so much.